So the nose is going to be really, really similar to the mouth in that there's not much line work at all. It's more about shading. I'm zoomed in too close here. It's more about shading, okay? So we're going to start, and this is really important when you're drawing the nose too, is to know what my students often have a tendency to do. And I've talked about like my setup here and how I've got my mirror. And I have it at eye level. I put up some books underneath it so that it would be at eye level and I wouldn't be looking down to it. So if you're holding a handheld mirror and you're sitting on your bed and you're looking down to it, you're going to see straight up your nose, right? We've done a lot of video conference calls. You guys should know, like when you're seeing up somebody's nose because they're looking down into the camera. So you need to look straight into your mirror. So I have put these books here underneath it to bring it up. Oh, my mirror turned up. To bring it up to eye level so that I can look straight. If I draw my face straight and add my nose so I'm looking up into it, I will look like a pig, not a human. So I don't want to do that, all right? Very important, you look straight in the mirror. And when you look straight in the mirror and you see the nostrils, they are not round. They're ellipses. They're narrow. If you start making them round, you get piggy nose, so you don't want piggy nose. So when I start the nose and I look at the shape of my nose, the first thing I look at is the center of my nose. And this is different for everybody, right? But I'm going to look at this part that attaches to the skin above my lip. And that's where I'm going to start my line. Looking really carefully, like this person, I can't even see how it attaches, but for me, I can actually see that moment where it attaches, and it's kind of straight across for me. And again, I got to make sure that I'm not looking up, but that I'm looking straight. Kind of like this. So take a peek in your mirror, hold it up straight, and kind of see what that part of your nose looks like and whether you can see where it attaches or not. So like these, you cannot really see. But like this girl, you can see it more. So it depends. After I get that center line, then I'm going to draw the top part of the nostril. So if I look at this one. After I draw what I saw here, and sometimes it's at the tip of the nose, and sometimes it's that piece of skin underneath, then I'm going to go up and I'm going to draw that nostril. Now hers goes, this one here goes up pretty far, and then you see itty bitty nostril. This person's here, it doesn't have that dramatic of an arch. It's very shallow. And the ellipses are a little more round than hers. So look at your own nose. And the good news is that noses are symmetrical. So once you kind of figure it out on one side, then you can copy what you see on the other. I think I cut that a little bit too strong. So in mine, I kind of see that, and then I'm going to do same thing on the other side. Try to make it match. I am not drawing, and I don't know what you call this in makeup, so I still call it the parentheses. But these things right here, these little flaps of skin on the outside, I'm not drawing those yet. Don't draw them. If you drew them, erase them. All right, here's why you got to be careful, because what I see a lot of students do when they draw the nose is that they make the nostrils and the sides of the nose all in one piece. To me, that looks like a mushroom, right? That's not how it works. What actually happens is that you draw this part, and then this skin around, which I call the parentheses, somehow fits around the nostrils, and it changes on different people. For me, it never attaches. It acts almost like as a separate entity here. For some people, it comes down and then you actually see a line where the skin attaches here. So it makes a difference how this part resolves itself, but it is not a continuation of the nostril. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at those parentheses and how they relate. Like mine go underneath the nostril. And then I get a shape kind of like this. I should have started my nose lower because I'm going to run out of space up here, but that's okay. I'm just going to go right into the mouth. Add a little more ground. Okay, so that is it for line. That's all we're going to do for line. You draw the nostrils. You draw the parentheses, and the rest is shading. So the rest takes a little bit of time. When you're looking at the nose, and the reason that the nose is so hard to draw, and people end up doing things like drawing it as like upside down, backwards sevens, and like I said, like mushrooms, right? The mushroom nose, and circles, is because it's easy to draw a shape, but it's difficult, and it's easy to draw a line, but it's hard to draw a form, because it's all about shading. So when I want things to look like they're popping out, I have to decide which parts protrude, which parts recede, and all of that. So the nose has planes to it. Like there's like the tip of the nose, which is the part that protrudes, and you don't have to draw this on yours, I'm just kind of showing you. And then there's the bridge of the nose. Yeah, I wish I would have started down lower. The bridge of the nose, and that's sometimes thin and sometimes wider. And then there's these sort of side pieces to the nose, like this. So this is in painting. If you take painting with Mr. Lappy, you talk a lot about the planes of the face, right? So it's like you almost like if you had like a filter that you could put over it that broke it into geometric shapes. That's kind of what the nose would look like, and from there it's shading. Okay. So I'm going to leave those marks on my page. Like I said, you don't have to draw them, but we're going to start with the nostrils, because the nostrils, there's a trick to them so that you don't look piggy nose, and everybody's going to have nostrils that are darker. So depending on how big they are, maybe they're just slits and you hardly see anything at all. But the big trick to shading them is that most students shade them solid, and you don't want to shade them solid. You want to shade the top. Let me zoom in a little. You want to shade the top dark, and then you want to create a gradation down so that it becomes softer, because it's just a cast shadow. Now, you can do this with your pencil if you want to, and just make it lighter. Or now is another good time to bring in that blending stick. And just kind of let it start dark and work its way lighter. Then you won't look like you have oinky piggy nose. Okay, so I'll do that on both sides. And then we're ready to shade the rest. So now, from here forward, I recommend you just watch, and then you do it, because it's going to be the same thing that I've done in the past, where it's all about finding the highlights, finding the shadows. It's going to look really splotchy, and then I'm going to have to blend it all together. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find the shadows. So strong, like I have more light coming from this side where I am. So this side of my nose is going to be in stronger shadow. I do want to caution you with adding too much shadow, because, let me put this one back in here. And one of the things you're going to see me kind of looking at as I'm adding shadow and erasing out is the structure of the cheeks. And when you're looking straight, it's not super obvious, but when you scrunch your face up, you can see that there's connective tissue. Your cheeks connect to your nose in this spot right here. So if you make a solid shadow all the way around the nose, it looks like you have like a cold and you've been blowing your nose and it's turned red. You have to kind of pay attention for this little break in the shadow. And it's the place where your eye socket like would make a shadow, and then right underneath your eye socket, there's just like a little space where it would pick up that cheekbone, and you're going to get more of a highlight than a shadow. So don't do like surrounding your nose with the shadow. So I might start with this side, and I'm using the side of my pencil now. Use the tip just to get closer to the edge. And then I see the shadow kind of jumps to actually being on my nose. Then there's, I'm not going to call it a wrinkle. I'm going to call it chubby cheeks. I don't have wrinkles. And then there's a little bit of a shadow underneath here. Then on this side, I'm catching more light. But there's a little bit of shadow right next to my chubby cheeks. You get a little bit of shadow kind of wrapping around the tip of the nose. So this is all observation. I'm just looking. And it's hard because if you're in a different lighting situation, it's going to change. So when you draw your self-portrait, sit in the same spot every day. Use the same light source every day. If that means you're sitting by a window, sit by the window every day. Even on a cloudy day, you're going to get light. All right, so there's some shadows. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to find the highlights. So right next to this shadow, oops, I want my better eraser. I get a highlight. I get a streak of light right there. That streak of light kind of follows down here, the tip of my nose, my side here of my cheek, my chubby cheek, this side is more in shadow, so I'm going to leave that be, but I do get a little bit of a highlight here. So like I said, the first moment is still very rough and splotchy. And now I know where everything kind of goes, and I'm just going to, this is the part that takes the most time. I'm just going to start blending things together. This is where you can pull in the blending stick if you want to. You can work with your pencil, but you're going to try, and also you may want to keep a separate piece of paper, and I'll just do it here in the margin. You may want to keep, because your blending stick starts to get dirty, right? And if you're trying to smear something but you don't want to make it too dark, you can clean your blending stick off just by going to like a part of the paper that's clean and just rub it until it starts not making a mark anymore. And then you can kind of go back in, because I don't want my highlight there to turn shadow. I just want to soften the edge. So I cleaned my blending stick. So now you guys can jump in if you, hopefully you were watching that, and start to do your highlights and shadows that you see. And I'm going to work on this for a second, and then we're going to move on to proportion. And you know, again, this is not, there's always refining. Sometimes I do something and I'm like, that doesn't look good, and I have to go back and fix it. So I go back in with my eraser, I'll go back in with my pencil, and make adjustments as I see fit. But I'm always looking in the mirror. If you are working from a picture, the good news is your light source doesn't change. In class, I would not allow you to use a photo because it's better if you're working from real life. But that is a challenge, is that your light source, you have to make sure that your light source stays the same. And then I kind of, if stuff gets too soft, like, and I lose that sort of edge that I want to, that contrast, and I'll go back with my pencil. So this is the break in the cheek that I see. I'm going to lighten up that little spot so it connects a little bit better. And obviously this is just like a nose hanging out there in space. But I want to eliminate those lines and see where those shadows actually go. So it just looks kind of strange because there's nothing around the nose. Like I'm not adding the things together. But that's what comes next week. You guys put it all together into one big picture. So to be honest, I would spend a lot of time working on this nose. Like, this is far from finished. I would be going back and forth and really looking at those, the contrast, the highlights, the shadows. But the rest is all just playing and fixing the light. So I am going to quit there. And we're going to jump into perspective, or I'm sorry, not perspective. We're going to jump into proportion. What time is it? Yeah, we got to jump into proportion. Okay, so we're not going to do all of proportion today. So, like I said, I would spend more time kind of smoothing this out, but I'm getting somewhere. And then, so I want you to finish this one. I want you to try one from the beginning on your own. Post the picture of your nose